Before we get started, I'd like to let everybody know we're in a lot of negotiations on different bills. We'll have senators coming in and out, back and forth. Uh, this hearing will probably last about an hour and a half. But again, it's a busy day up here. But we're glad you're here, our witnesses, and hopefully we can shed some light on a very important topic. Thank you to all the witnesses for being here today. It's always nice to see a couple of my fellow Alabamians here at Nation's Capital, Dr. Cox and Mr. Stadlander. Thank you for coming. We've called this hearing today to discuss something very important that is happening in every state, red or blue. It makes no difference. It hits everybody. And to see what works in addressing workforce development needs in our country, we need to put more emphasis on this. There is a skills gap epidemic in our country right now, and it is time to find solutions. President Trump made a bold and a much needed declaration to close the skills gaps in this country through historic investments in America's reindustrialization and economic growth. The goal is to have 1 million new active apprentices in this country and to grow opportunities in career and technical education. Fortunately, the One Big Beautiful Bill included the passage of Workforce Pell, which will enable students to pursue different career paths that they didn't have prior. We can celebrate all the wins our states and our country is having due to big manufacturers and industrialization moving back to the United States, but it doesn't matter if we don't have the workforce to fill the hundreds of thousands of jobs created by this. Too many people are more comfortable sitting home than learning a skill and being a part of America's labor workforce. We're here today to discuss how we can help make that happen. You know, it starts with investing in empowering career technical education as early as possible. One of the biggest hurdles is teaching our kids and their parents that you do not have to go to a 4-year university to have a successful career. Opting into classes to learn a skill or being part of a registered apprenticeship in high school are options every student should have at K through 12 level, and it should start at a young age, not once students are about to graduate. Our witnesses today are well equipped to discuss all these issues, and I look forward to hearing from them. I'll yield now to my ranking member, Senator Rochester, for her opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Tuberville, for holding this important hearing, and thank you especially to our witnesses today. America's workforce is the glue that holds our economy together. Our global leadership and national security and even our health are all tied to the strength of our workforce, from biotech professionals to construction workers to nurses. Without prepared workers, our national goals cannot become a reality. And it's not just about today. We also need to foster the workforce of the future. Right now, there are scientists and engineers in Head Start classes who will be charged with changing the world. We have young people in apprenticeships who will build and maintain the infrastructure their children will rely on, not to mention the future healthcare professionals taking their very first science classes and developing a passion for helping others. We need to prepare young people for the critical roles that keep our economy moving. And as you said, we need to start young. Yet persistent and growing workforce shortages remain one of the top headlines of the day. From Forbes, the healthcare workforce shortage is growing. States are rushing to fix it. From Bay News in Florida, U.S. agriculture industry faces labor shortage of 155,000 employees. And we can't forget that there are unmet needs in nearly every emerging biotech role, a critical industry for our national security. If building a robust and skilled workforce is our goal, then we need to invest in career and technical education and strong national workforce development programs. I'm sure we'll hear more from our witnesses about the incredible work that states are doing with CTE. My home state of Delaware has built one of the most successful pathways programs in the country that enrolls nearly 78% of high school students, more than 80% of middle school students, and graduates 98% of its participants on time. I hope we will also hear constructive feedback from our witnesses about where we are missing the mark and how Congress can help support pathways that are meaningful, integrated, and well rounded academic instruction, and can help prepare all of our students with skills that will set them up for success. I want to emphasize as well that career and technical education is just that, education. Congress intentionally designed CTE to align with broader K 12 academic standards, with the understanding that these students also need foundational academics like literacy to succeed in the workforce. I have to say, I'm disappointed that the administration is not recognizing the value of CTE as part of an integrated academic instruction. In July, they announced an interagency agreement transferring the administration of CTE programs from the Department of Education to the Department of Labor. That is a unilateral move and illegal that undermines Congress and creates confusion and inefficiency at the state level. So let me be clear, greater alignment of workforce and education programs is needed. I say this as a former Secretary of Labor. I love labor. I love the Department of Labor, but I know firsthand the power of partnership in this space. But greater alignment to promote better outcomes is really a focus. Rather than shut down the Department of Education entirely and write the limited but important role of the federal government in education out of the picture entirely, what we should be doing is deepening our investment in CTE and supporting state programs that lead young people toward meaningful, high quality careers. In a moment where AI and advanced technologies are transforming our economy, we must ensure that students have awareness and guidance on what jobs are out there, what jobs are coming, and have the skills and academic foundations they need to unlock their full potential. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for this important and timely hearing. And thank you to our witnesses, and I yield back.
Thank you, Senator. Now we'll start with opening statements. Our first witness is Dr. Chris Cox. He serves the Alabama Community College System as Deputy Chancellor of Instruction, Research, and Development. Dr. Cox is a proven leader with 3 decades of K through 12 and higher education experience. He has served as the president of Shelton State Community College, interim president of multiple community colleges throughout our state, a former principal and assistant principal, and started his career as a teacher and coach at Dale County High School in Midland City, Alabama. Dr. Cox has been on the forefront of career and technical education through his work at ACCS, and I'm proud to have an Auburn man here today join us. Dr. Cox, your opening statement. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator Tuberville and Ranking Member Blunt Rochester. It's a privilege to be here today and to talk about, as both of you have said, what is so important in our country. And I'll speak specifically to the state of Alabama and things that we're doing, I think, that are very innovative and making great change in the state of Alabama. The Alabama Community College System, we have 24 colleges with 24 presidents around the state. We serve 160,000 students every year. And I will say, over the course of the last 8 years, we have been somewhat of an anomaly where we are growing year over year over the last 8 years, which we're real proud of the work of all of our colleges. One thing about the Alabama Community College System, we have changed over time, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but I think important is that we're pretty agile, is to know that I was speaking with the industry actually this morning, and that if we don't prepare skills or skilled workers, then we're not doing our jobs and it puts us out of business. So we have to be agile. And I think we've done that pretty well. But it's not just about academics, it's about training and it's about economics. And I'm going to give a few examples in just a minute that I think are really important that shows some of the great work that is happening across the state of Alabama. We believe, a lot we can't have people sitting on the sidelines. We need everybody engaged in the workforce, and part of what we're doing is we're putting the word out to every citizen in Alabama that they are college material. Now, college material, I think you could, what does that look like? We believe that looks like anywhere from 2 weeks of training at the college or 2 years of training, which we think are important. And I want to talk real quickly about a few of those programs that might consist of a 2 week training compared to an associate degree training. And surprisingly, in our state, because of the workforce, whether it be manufacturing, healthcare, CDL, programs such as that, because logistics is a major problem in Alabama for truck drivers, as if we can get a student trained in as few of 2 weeks and get them a really good livable wage job, which I think is really important. A couple of programs that I would like to mention that I think are important. We have a program, it's called the Alabama Technology Network, that works within our system. So this can be for new or expanding industry in Alabama. And I think uniquely qualified when those industries come in as technology changes, the equipment's change, robotics comes in, our ATN leaders can go into the industry and can train employees on how to use the new program. So if it's new equipment, new technology, simple things also is quality control, safety. They can also do leadership training. We also have a real unique program, I think one of the only in the nation, that we call Skills for Success. This was put together, actually, we worked with NFIB, which represents small business in Alabama, and they told us there's no training for us. There's no training for small business. So one of the major problems in Alabama is at the time on the Gulf Coast. We couldn't have that there were a shortage of employees to wait tables, to work in restaurants, hospitality, hotels because of the Gulf Coast. So we got with them, we put it together 5 subject matter experts around the state, and we built a training program that lasted about 2 weeks to get people trained to go into that industry. We then could advertise to get people into these programs and place them into work. And those jobs were not, some of those jobs were not livable wage, but it was on a pathway. I think that's what we're here to talk about. We got them out off the couch, off the sofa, and we put them into a pathway where they could go into management. We can train them in more of our programs. I think that was huge. Also, real quickly mention apprenticeship in Alabama. We've done great things with it, whether it be in the manufacturing world. We manufacture anywhere from automobiles to rockets in Huntsville to ships and submarines down in Mobile. And apprenticeships have been a huge part of what we do, and some of them being registered, others not. But it's a work-based learning model, which we think is very important to the state of Alabama. But all of these things are we're making sure that when a student goes through a program, it is not the start. It's just a start. It's not the finish. That whether it's a 2 week program or a 2 year program that they get in industrial maintenance, that one day they can run Mercedes-Benz or whatever industry they are training for. Last thing I will mention, I'm running short on time and I don't want to go over very much, but I think Coach mentioned in his opening statement dual enrollment. I think Senator Blunt Rochester also mentioned that we've increased dual enrollment. I believe it was 230% increase over the past few years. So we have rural Alabama schools, which I think is important, that almost half of their students are graduating from high school with an associate's degree. It's not quite as good as some of the other states. However, we are making progress. We are getting better, and we're real proud of that work. I think also I'll mention rural Alabama Healthcare is a major problem. We have hospitals that have closed down. Getting employees is a major problem. One of the things that we have done is we have went into rural Alabama and we've opened new campuses on hospital sites. So in Bibb County, Alabama, we worked with the hospital administrator there. We opened a LPN program right there on site. We had to go through accreditation, do all the things. It was a lot of work, but now that hospital is able to train people right there in their community at a small rural hospital, and they're becoming nurses. They don't have to travel 30 miles when they have children, transportation issues. We're taking that, and that's just one example of how we're taking the training to the people of Alabama, even in rural Alabama, which I think is a huge, huge problem all over the country. I go back to the agility, which I think is we have to pride ourselves on being great at what we do. I've said this time and time again, we're getting better and better each day. We still have a long ways to go because we still have a lot of people that are not in the workforce. And I'll tell you this, we are not going to quit until it happens. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today on the topic. It's not only important to the Alabama Community College system, but it's shaping the future prosperity for generations. We stand ready to partner with this committee and Congress to ensure that community and technical colleges across this nation receive support necessary to continue driving economic competitiveness and strengthening the American workforce. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. Our next witness is Ms. Shelley Travis, Executive Director of Skills USA. Skills USA is the nation's largest career and technical student organization that is focused on the United States having a skilled workforce across the board of all the skill pathways. They also have nearly 400,000 teachers and students involved in CTE. Ms. Travis has over 25 years' experience in career and technical education. She leads a staff of 40 that oversees a federation of more than 50 states and territorial Skills USA associations. She was the former Senior Director of Workforce and Economic Development at the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, and her passion came from her mother, who was a CTE educator for 40 years. Ms. Travis, thank you for being here today, and you can begin your opening statement.
Thank you so much for that wonderful remarks. Chairman Tuberville, Ranking Member Blunt, Rochester, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for inviting me here today to discuss the vital role organizations just like mine have in preparing America's next generation of skilled talent. My name is Shelley Travis, and I serve as the Executive Director of Skills USA. As you mentioned, the nation's largest career and technical student organization focused on ensuring the United States has a skilled workforce across the full spectrum of the skilled trade pathways. As emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, automation, cybersecurity, and new energy systems reshape our shared economy, coupled with the existing workforce needs in other sectors like manufacturing, construction, and healthcare, the need for a strong, reliable, skilled workforce has never been more urgent. Today's workforce challenges are not simply economic. They are a national security issue. With millions of unskilled positions and America investing less than in technical education than nearly every other industrialized nation, we face both a short-term crisis and a long-term threat. To maintain global competitiveness, our education and workforce systems must complement, not compete with each other. Skills USA's mission is to empower students to become skilled professionals, career-ready leaders, and responsible community members. We serve more than 444,000 students and teachers in all 50 states, 2 territories, and DC, supporting middle schools, high schools, and college post-secondary classrooms in more than 130 occupational areas. One of our most powerful strategies in our system of skilled competitions. These events operate at the local, state, national, and even international levels, giving students opportunities to demonstrate their abilities under real-world conditions. The Skills USA Championships is the largest showcase of skilled talent in America, with more than 6,800 state champions compete in 115 events, all developed and judged by industry. Put more plainly, CTSOs are where classroom learning transforms workforce readiness. Students don't just learn skills, they apply them, compete with them, and prove that they can deliver under pressure. And central to why we are here today, CTSOs are fundamentally different from other after-school or extracurricular clubs and related activities. They are designed to be integral to the CTE instruction, directly aligning with CTE programs and allowing learners to participate in activities that complement and reinforce content learned in the classroom and in the workplace. Yet only 17% of the nation's 12 million CTE students currently participate in CTSOs. Scaling access to these opportunities is one of the highest impact and most cost-effective ways to strengthen our workforce pipeline. A nationally representative study of more than 20,000 CTE students shows that SkillsUSA members outperform non-participants across 8 key dimensions that set them up for career success. These findings hold true across gender, race, and socioeconomic status. A strong signal that expanding CTSO access is a powerful strategy for student success. Victoria Ingram is a SkillsUSA Virginia student and our National College Postsecondary parliamentarian. Through her engineering program and SkillsUSA leadership experiences, she has developed planning, organizational, and collaborative leadership skills that now guide her national service. Her father, Matt Ingram, a veteran CTE instructor and a longtime SkillsUSA advisor, is joining her today. He has spent 2 decades preparing students for meaningful careers. Her story is just one of thousands, but it represents the power of what happens when policy, programming, and partnerships come together to support America's future workforce. It is rare to find something that students, educators, and Fortune 500 companies can all agree on. SkillsUSA is that rare thing. CTSOs like ours deliver exactly what the 3 need: students who are ready to work, businesses that can compete, and communities that benefit from stable, rewarding career pathways. Put simply, expanding CTSO access must be a core component to the nation's wider workforce development strategy. As this subcommittee considers how to strengthen America's workforce development efforts, I respectfully offer several recommendations, which are also expanded further within my written testimony. Strengthen the federal investment in career and technical education. Expand infrastructure supporting youth work-based learning opportunities. Reauthorize the National Apprenticeship Act. And grow the pipeline of skilled CTE instructors, because without them, there will be no pipeline of skilled workers. As SkillsUSA is in good hands because it is in skilled hands. With continued and strengthened federal support, related policy improvements, we can ensure that students have access to the pathways they need to build successful careers and support our nation's economic and national security. So remember, at SkillsUSA, the future is in good hands because it is in skilled hands. I want to thank you again for your time, and I want to answer any questions that you may have and look forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, Ms. Travis. Our next witness is Mr. Joel Stadlander. He's the Director of Human Resources at ArcelorMittal Culvert. Is that correct? One of the most advanced steel manufacturing facilities in the world and a major employer in South Alabama. Mr. Stadlander has over 25 years of leadership experience in human resources, and his role at his company includes workforce development, partnerships, and strategies for a workforce of nearly 2,000 employees at the Culvert site. ArcelorMittal is one of the most advanced steel finishing facilities in the world, and their commitment to workforce development is what makes them a valuable piece of Alabama's economy. Joel is committed to ensuring young people see a future in high-skilled, good-paying careers, and we thank you for being here today. Joel, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Ranking Member, and members of the subcommittee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about workforce development and the partnerships that are strengthening Alabama's manufacturing talent pipeline. ArcelorMittal is the world's leading steel and mining company with over 126,000 employees in more than 60 countries, including more than 3,000 in the United States. We're a leader in all major global steel markets: automotive, construction, household appliances, and packaging. I come today from South Alabama at our facility called ArcelorMittal Calvert, which is recognized as one of the most advanced steel finishing facilities in the world. Our facility includes a river terminal, a newly constructed electric arc furnace, hot strip and cold rolling mills, hot dip galvanizing lines, rail yards, and supporting infrastructure. Our facility in Calvert helps meet increasing automotive demand for advanced high-strength steels that are needed to produce lighter weight and more fuel-efficient and safer vehicles. Finally, we have started construction of a new electrical steel facility in Calvert, which will create even more opportunities and demands for a skilled workforce. This project is expected to create up to 1,300 jobs during the construction phase and as many as 200 permanent positions to support the plant's ongoing operations. As a human resources leader in Mobile, Alabama area, I can confirm we are facing a highly competitive labor market. Employers are often drawing from the same limited pool of skilled workers. Whether shipbuilding, aerospace, construction, chemical plants, or manufacturing like us, we're all expanding at the same time. And there's too few new qualified workers entering the system with the right skills, so we often just end up hiring from one another. While applicants come to us with enthusiasm and good foundation, they often lack skills such as math, troubleshooting abilities, and electrical and automation knowledge. These are essential skills for success in modern manufacturing. We're proud to lead in workforce development efforts through strong partnerships with local schools, community colleges, and universities, along with other public and private workforce development groups. We actively participate in apprenticeship programs such as Fame on the Coast at Bishop State Community College, where students earn an associate degree while gaining hands-on experience in advanced manufacturing. Similarly, we work with Coastal Community College to support a registered apprenticeship in fields like industrial maintenance and electrical instrumentation. In both cases, we offer last dollar scholarships so students can graduate debt-free. But our commitment extends beyond those just immediately entering the workforce. We invest in community programs that educate and inspire kids, helping them see opportunities they might not have imagined before. Workforce development does start early, and we support initiatives and outreach not just to high schools, but also to middle and elementary to help prepare future talent and create awareness of the good jobs in manufacturing. As a steel industry leader, we are also working to change outdated perception regarding the trades. Steelmaking today is highly innovative, technologically advanced. We are creating good paying careers that offer stability, growth, and benefits, careers that allow individuals to build a future for themselves and their families. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Ranking Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am pleased to introduce Mr. Luke Ryan. He is the Vice President for Post-Secondary Success at Rodell, a Delaware-based nonprofit focused on strengthening Delaware's public education system and workforce. Luke has worn many hats in the CTE space. At the federal level, he served as the acting Assistant Secretary for the Office of Career Technical and Adult Education at the U.S. Department of Education. He also has extensive state-level experience, including in Delaware, where he was the Director of CTE and STEM initiatives, and later the Associate Secretary of Workforce Support, and helped create the Delaware Pathways Initiative, a national model for CTE excellence. Luke is also very well respected across the continuum from educators to employers to community members, and I am honored to have him here, and I thank you for being with us and sharing your testimony, and I will now turn it over to Mr. Ryan for your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Tuberville, Ranking Member Blunt Rochester. Is that better? Yeah, the red light is on. Is that better? All right, excellent. Good afternoon, Chairman Tuberville, Ranking Member Blunt Rochester, and members of the subcommittee. It is an honor to be here today. My remarks will talk about the importance of federal and state leadership in advancing workforce development. Our country continues to confront a troubling paradox. Employers across almost every major sector are hiring, yet cannot find enough qualified workers. This is frustrating because Americans have the talent to succeed, yet many lack the specific skills and increasingly the combination of skill and work experience that is required in today's labor market. High quality career and technical education is how we solve this challenge. In an era defined by rapid technological change, CTE is not optional, it is essential. By integrating technical skills, rigorous academics, and real world work experience, CTE helps students build the competencies employers expect. Congress recognized this in its 2006 reauthorization of the Perkins Act and reinforced this in its 2018 reauthorization. Through these actions, Congress affirmed a simple but powerful principle. Students learn best when academic instruction, technical training, and authentic work experience are integrated into a pathway that connects education and a good job. And we are seeing states lead the way. Delaware's career and technical education system is nationally recognized as a model for how states can build high-quality education to workforce pipelines. Delaware operates one of the nation's largest middle grades career exploration models. At the high school level, Delaware has positioned CTE as the core driver of its post-secondary and career readiness efforts. The state's Youth Apprenticeship Initiative intentionally aligns CTE to registered apprenticeship, creating high-quality pre-apprenticeship models. The state also supports students and families through key post-secondary transitions and offers one of the nation's most comprehensive post-secondary promise programs. These accomplishments are the result of bipartisan support for career and technical education at the federal, state, and local levels. Delaware intentionally leveraged Perkins 5 because it created new opportunities for the state to build coherent, high-quality pathways. Delaware's progress would not have been possible without consistent federal leadership. Stable federal leadership allows states to plan effectively, align funding, build cross-agency partnerships, and implement Perkins as Congress intended, which is to position states to lead and to deliver durable results for students, families, and employers. And that is why the recent federal uncertainty is so concerning. Earlier this year, as noted, the administration signed an interagency agreement transferring the administration of Perkins from the U.S. Department of Education to the U.S. Department of Labor. This shift raises legal, operational, and strategic concerns, and the administration has now done the same with various education programs, citing the success of Octave's transition to DOL, which is not yet known. CTE is fundamentally an education program, anchored in K-12 and post-secondary education, informed by research and supported by bipartisan leadership. Moving Perkins to DOL inserts layers of bureaucracy and threatens the alignment between CTE and the educational title programs that it is designed to connect with. I believe the intent behind the interagency agreement is to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education and is not to improve the alignment between education and workforce systems. Major federal shifts like the interagency agreement require public input, transparency, and at a minimum, a basic estimate of the administrative fiscal burden that states, institutions, and taxpayers will bear. These procedures exist to ensure that the federal government does not create unfunded mandates, misalign existing systems, or add costs that fall on the very communities we are trying to serve. It is my understanding that none of these steps occurred with this transition, and based on the operations and staffing models outlined in the IAA, there is reason to believe that this transition may actually increase federal administrative costs. Without a transparent fiscal estimate, Congress and the public cannot determine whether this approach saves money, costs more, or creates duplicative structures across agencies. The goal of better aligning education and workforce is the right one. To accomplish that goal, Congress should reaffirm that CTE is an integral part of our nation's public education system and ensure that the administration of Perkins remains within the U.S. Department of Education. That commitment will protect the bipartisan gains of the past 2 decades and ensure that CTE continues to deliver opportunity for students and a competitive workforce for our nation. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good opening statements. I think we'd all agree in here that we got a lot of pressing problems in our country, but workforce is something that if we don't address it in the next year or so, then we won't be able to build a residential home or a commercial building. It won't happen because we're not going to have the skilled labor. So we'll start with questions, and I want to pass and yield my opening time to Senator Husted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And reiterating your point, we have the situation with an aging population, low birth rates, and a broken immigration system. You combine all those together, and that is, and the idea that we're going to make more things in America, which will require more people, and an emerging technology like AI will be integrated in everything. And so, your point is well made about the crisis situation that we're in. I come to this job as a U.S. Senator from serving as Lieutenant Governor of Ohio, where I was for the past 6 years, oversaw workforce development efforts in our state. And I've been involved in these issues for a long time, and I'm that's why I was glad that in the budget reconciliation bill that we added workforce Pell, so that we're taking the Pell grants and putting them towards short-term credentials, because employers are hiring skills, not degrees, and that's very important. But what I've learned over that time is that who is your customer is always a good thing to think about when you're deciding how to fund something. Is it the student? Is it the employer? Or is it the provider? The more that we pay for completion and less for participation, the better off we'll be. I am a big fan of giving more of the federal funds to the states, because this is where it happens. It's hard to deliver a one-size-fits-all system from the federal level. And so I'm going to talk with Mr. Statlander, as I say your name correctly. Okay. So you are a customer of this system, meaning that you are the ones who are purchasing the skills of the people in Alabama, and you're with a company that has places all around the world. So where do you get what programs work best? What services work best? And when you say, hey, this is what works for us, what's your what's your perspective as an employer on who delivers the best product?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. All of these workforce development products we're engaged with have significant impact. It's hard to pick what works best. I can say one of the programs we work with the most that has delivered excellent results is apprenticeships with two-year colleges in the Alabama two-year college program. We have an apprenticeship that's a registered apprenticeship with Coastal Community College, and we have a work-learn model apprenticeship with Bishop State Community College. Both of these programs graduate ready-to-work technicians that are skilled on day one of graduation, because they have that model of working real-time with applied knowledge in the facilities, as well as getting the education. So those partnerships.
So you want to have when you hire somebody, you would like them to come have some work experience, to have a work experience that they're learning and earning at the same time, and that is the best outcome for you.
That, yes, works well. Dual enrollments, apprenticeships have been very successful.
Which can happen at the K through 12 level through a career center, which can happen through a community college with an apprenticeship program. Typically not at a four-year institution, though, right? They don't. I mean, we have some co-ops, we have some internships, but that's not the model.
Correct.
Yeah, and so one of the programs that we put together when I was in the administration as lieutenant governor was something called Tech Cred. And how this worked was that you had the employer pick the individual, the current employee or future employee. They identified the credential they wanted them to earn. They enrolled them with the provider that they thought would do the best. And then once that was completed, the state of Ohio would reimburse them for the cost of that credential. So essentially in our state, we created a program where every adult in our state could get free job training, but it was pay for completion, not for participation. And that led to so much more of an efficient outcome. And I just share that with you because your company is, I think, used it in our state. I know that we've had hundreds of thousands of individuals that have now used it and tens of thousands of employers in it, and it works very well. But I would conclude, Mr. Chairman, by saying my experience with workforce is the closer you have the employer connected to the individual, where you see the clear pathway between the job training that you're doing, the education you're getting, and the end game of an employer, of a job, an employer who will hire you, the stronger these models work. And so I appreciate you having a hearing today and getting us all to talk about it. And just in conclusion, every state does it different. Every state has a different economic situation, different jobs, different culture. It's regional, and we've got to empower the state and local folks to have these resources to do it the way they want. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Kane.
You, Senator Tuberville, for holding this hearing. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the witnesses. And Ms. Travis, while your background is a Tennessee background, I know that you're now operating in Virginia and all over the country, but from a Virginia base. So I appreciate having you here. I've been a mayor and governor, and I've been very focused on career and technical education. And I've been involved in efforts to restructure and simplify a system that sometimes is too complicated, to try to use the dollars the best way possible. And so I don't mind reform efforts, but I don't like chaos. If you're going to do reform, do it carefully and thoughtfully, not chaotically. And I worry that the administration is pursuing, I'll call them reforms, but in a chaotic way. I think they've made a pledge to destroy the Department of Education, and so they have to do things kind of chaotically to achieve that political goal. Let me just share how that affects CTE. On May 21st, officials within the Department of Ed and the Department of Labor acted unilaterally and in secret to transfer key career and technical education functions away from the Department of Ed to the Department of Labor. And you could imagine a world where you'd have the two secretaries come and talk to the Help Committee and say, we've really thought about this, and this would be better to operate these functions in the Department of Labor, and here's a plan for the way to do the transition. That did not happen. A decision was made unilaterally and in secret to do the transfer. The Trump administration did not formally announce this until July 15, about 6 weeks later, after the decision was made. The decision did get tipped off, though, because there were court cases where it came out in court documents this was being done. Since then, this transfer has just led to significant chaos for states and districts learning to comply with new policies, learning to even become aware about what the policies are. In September, grantees were abruptly informed that they had 6 hours to draw down federal funds for the remaining fiscal year, and no clear timeline was given to them for when remaining funds would be available again. States were informed that payments would be transferred to a new software system. And of course, there was a host of administrative issues then that left states unable or less able to set up their new accounts successfully. For whatever reason, Virginia's school districts are still waiting on their federal Perkins dollars that were due to them at the beginning of the fiscal year in October. The administration is celebrating this as a successful implementation, saying that 43 states are now onboarded to the latest administrative payment system. But just saying somebody's onboarded to a new payment system is not the measure of whether this is successful. So, Mr. Wright, I want to ask you this in your role with the state. How does the federal government's abrupt and often unclear guidance and changes affect the ability for programs to be run successfully and ultimately for students to succeed?
Absolutely. So from the state perspective, there are two clear things that states count on the federal government for. The first is grant administration. The second is data collection and reporting. As you noted, sir, grant administration this year has not occurred as effectively as it has in years past. Many states did not have access to their July or October allocations as they should have occurred on those days. Many were able to resolve those issues. Others, as you noted, are still waiting. The same concerns will apply next month to data collection. Next month, states will be required to submit their consolidated annual report under Perkins and their data for career and technical education. To my knowledge, states have yet to receive the guidance on how those data will be collected or to which agency those data should be submitted. I should note, and as you noted, Ed and DOL manage both grant administration and data collection very differently. If states are to be expected next month to submit data under DOL's format, it will require extensive work over the next month in order to ensure that the file formats and the data architecture reflect DOL's required materials. So these delays and uncertainties essentially make it harder for states to plan, and that lack of ability to plan requires additional staff time. So essentially, in dealing with federal bureaucracy and the inability to project what should be routine payments as well as routine data collection, states will need to adjust and account for their staff, and they'll need to apply staffing differently.
I have one more question that I want to ask, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, but just to kind of underline the point, you said in your testimony that you think this should stay with the Department of Ed. I'm a little bit agnostic on that. If there's a better way to do this in DOL, I would be open to it. But how about justifying that it should go to DOL and having a transition plan so that it's not all just kind of up to the minute and states are left without money? I mean, you could have done this in a way that was careful. I worry that it's being done in a way just to say we dismantled the Department of Education. My second question is about something that Senator Tuberville and I and many on this committee work for. Finally, Pell Grants can be accessed for high quality career and technical education. I mean, it just seems like such a basic idea. I had co-sponsored legislation to do that virtually since I got here. It was included in the reconciliation bill. That's a good thing. But that's going to be implemented, and regulations need to be written by the Department of Education for this to happen, at the same time as we're dismantling the Department of Education, dramatically reducing staffing at the Department of Education. Many staffers were riffed during the shutdown at the Department of Education. Some have been returned. Can states, how can this wonderful advance, Pell Grant for high quality CTE, be effectively implemented by a department that is pledged to eliminate itself?
So I think it will be very difficult. So essentially, Workforce Pell needs to integrate with existing CTE, WIOA, and 2- and 4-year degree programs, as well as states' registered apprenticeship systems. Clear guardrails, expectations, and accountability are what will help states implement effectively and ensure that these programs align and taxpayer dollars are well spent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kane. It's important. I've worked for years in the four-year higher educational programs, and I don't think there's any doubt that if we're going to make workforce development work, it's got to start in 2-year universities also. Mr. Cox, what's your thoughts about that?
Yes, sir. I absolutely believe starting with us. A couple things that I'd like to mention. Every student in Alabama, we want to have the opportunity to get a quality education for, well, if they're wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer, whatever it may be, that they can get it in their community at a price that is reasonable for them. But, I think going back to the workforce, and, we are very supportive of the workforce Pell opportunities and getting people to work and being able to use actually skills and training to articulate into some of our career technical education programs, I think is very important. And I think we, as I said earlier, are agile and are working with, I think key goes back to the senator's point of working with industry. Our job is to know what the industry needs, and we have to be agile. We have to change what we do. And that's, I think, what the community college system, all of our colleges in the state of Alabama, has done a great job of really changing how we're operating from just being transfer schools to being workforce training, career tech training, and getting people prepared to go to work.
Thank you. Ms. Travis, you're an executive director of one of the most successful career technical student organizations in the country, Skills USA. This success cannot be achieved without having a solid, concise understanding of what students actually want and need in the CTE space. From your perspective, what are the biggest hurdles we face when it comes to the way students and their parents think about a career that doesn't involve a 4-year degree?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this very important question today. I think one of the most important things is we have not only a skills gap, but we have a true connection gap in our country. And that connection gap is we have to meet students where they are so that they can be aware of the programs that are available to them. That's why I'm so excited about a new program that we've started at Skills USA. It's called Skills USA Pathful, and it is an all-inclusive career awareness and workforce development, work-based learning program and virtual. And the advantage of that is that it can reach absolutely every single Skills USA member across the country, regardless if they're rural or urban or socioeconomic status. It meets them where they are and puts the tools in their hands so that they can help make those decisions. It also connects students directly with employers, and I think one of the other members mentioned earlier about how important it is to connect with business and industry so that you can see how what you're learning in the classroom is actually relevant. And if we can connect our students with business and industry and they're able to, at a very young age, to discover their occupational identity, because what we know, Chairman Tuberville, is that students, by the time they leave middle school in 8th grade, they don't know what they want to do necessarily, but they've already ruled out many of the careers that we serve at Skills USA. And the reason is that they are not aware of those programs and all of the opportunities and options that are available to them. So I think it's truly education and meeting students where they are. Our education system, many times we want to use the systems that we grew up with. But it's a different day and age, and our students, we need to meet them through social media, through Instagram, and through TikTok and other ways that they are learning. I was actually talking to a student the other day, and the way she selected her career pathway was actually through Instagram because she developed a pathway that actually knew what she was wanting, and actually those algorithms predicted what would be good for her. And it was a way that she could relate and connect to career and technical education. So what Skills USA Pathway and other work-based learning programs do is they give the students the opportunity early on to try on careers, to see what they're interested in before they get out into the workplace and before they come to you, Chris, many times and decide that that occupation is not available to them. It actually allows them to see a clear pathway of all the stackable credentials that are available for them and to actually respect and normalize career and technical education in all pathways, whether it's certification, non-degree credential, technical or community college, or whether it is that CTE program that leads to a 4-year bachelor's degree and beyond. It helps parents make those important decisions that will make our workforce stronger.
Thank you, Senator Rochester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement on career and technical education from the United Steelworkers.
Thank you. So done.
As you were speaking, Ms. Travis, I was thinking about my father who was in the field of education. And before he passed away, as I was running for this seat, he gave me, he wrote on the back of a business card, "You become what you see unless you see what you want to become." That just like kind of crystallizes for me why this is so important. Many kids may never see occupations that they never heard about, and that, you know, for him, he was the first to graduate from high school, first to graduate from college in his family, and now I sit here as a United States Senator. And so this is really vital for not just our country, but for people's well-being and for living their purpose. Again, I'm glad to have Mr. Ryan here, and in your testimony, you highlighted Delaware's excellence in CTE. I've been able to visit many of Delaware's exceptional VOTEC schools, as well as visit our traditional public schools that have engaged students in pathways. Can you expand a little on what makes Delaware's Pathways program so effective?
I would be happy to. First and foremost, it starts with strong executive leadership. Delaware has been very fortunate that Governor Markell, Governor Carney, and now Governor Meyer have each made career and technical education a key part of their policy platform. The second is the state has a true public-private partnership. Our state departments of education and labor work hand in hand with employer and community organizations and our state's community and technical colleges to offer dual enrollment and advanced pathways across a variety of programs. The third is Delaware benefits from exceptional local leadership. our area superintendents, our 3 technical schools, the president of our community and technical college system have each led key work products that move the field forward very quickly. And the results show that it's working. Today, 70% of students in high school are enrolled in a high-quality career pathway. Dual enrollment has increased by 44% in the last reporting year, which is the fastest growth rate in the country. Credential attainment and work-based learning have nearly doubled in 2 years. And youth apprenticeship, which is to mean youth enrollment in registered apprenticeship programs, has also doubled in the last 2 years.
Thank you. One of my biggest priorities is to prepare our workforce for the future of work. And it's clear that AI and advanced technologies are dramatically reshaping our economy and even how we think about work. Last week, I introduced legislation called the Workforce of the Future Act to better understand AI's impact on our economy and continue to support our efforts in that space. I have a question for both you, Ms. Travis, as well as you, Mr. Ryan. And it's kind of ironic because as I'm looking at my questions, it like skipped because I'm using technology, which goes to show there's nothing like a human being. Mr. Ryan and Ms. Travis, how can CTE help promote our future STEM workforce and complement rigorous STEM academies? And I'll start with Ms. Travis.
Thank you very much for that very important question. I would say that CTE and actually STEM academics are essential partners. CTE is what makes STEM academics meaningful and relevant. And CTE is one of the most powerful tools that we have actually for building STEM pathways and actually encouraging those and creating that very awareness that you were talking about. Because if your parents or those in your sphere of influence were not involved in those careers, you may not know about the wonderful opportunities there for them. Because CTE really does connect academic and knowledge with actually real-world application and develops career-ready skills that traditional classrooms just really cannot sustain and scale. And it makes the learning very relevant for our students. When CTE students, when students that are in STEM academics actually can understand why STEM matters, engagement and our achievement really does increase. I was in a classroom not long ago, and so you really can see how CTE can impact those STEM academic students. I was in an engineering classroom, and they were building and designing prosthetic devices using physics and math and 3D modeling software. And then biotechnology students were actually doing DNA extractions and tying together biology and chemistry with the diagnostics that they were doing. And when you enter in a machining classroom, you see the advanced math skills that they are doing, such as trigonometry, when it comes to measuring tolerances and actually programming machines. And what is so exciting to those students in IT as well, as they're building and securing those networks to make sure that our information stays safe, is that math and the problem-solving skills that they get from STEM academics many times is actually delivered in hands-on learning. And it makes it relevant. They can see how that STEM academics really does move into that future career for them, and it makes it relevant and real.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
So first and foremost, thank you for your work on AI and STEM literacy. I think it is critically important that we understand the impact that AI has on our current workforce and our future workforce. That intelligence is going to, by its very nature, help us inform education, and particularly how we offer career and technical education programs nationally. I agree with Ms. Travers. CTE is inherently interdisciplinary. It is an opportunity to bring together academic technical instruction, and it is a way in which we can integrate AI education across our country in a way that's meaningful and meets students where they are. I also think that as we think about the integration of AI in our education systems, it should also be taught in an interdisciplinary manner. It is important that it exists in academic and technical coursework, and it is important that students understand how to apply AI both in the classroom and in the workplace.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stadlander, can you talk about the partnerships coming from the manufacturing world, partnerships that you've cultivated with high schools, junior colleges, and four-year schools, and how to develop workforce? Sure. Pull it a little bit closer, too, so there we go.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. Yes, absolutely. Starting with our four-year partnerships, four-year university partnerships, we have cultivated relationships where we hire interns every summer to come and work in various engineering, supply chain, and business areas of the company. And we hire new grads from those interns every single year. We also partner with the University of South Alabama on some hourly apprenticeships with some of their students. That's newly and emerging. With two-year technical colleges, we run apprenticeships, as I described earlier, both the work and learn and the registered apprenticeship. Those are very successful in having ready now people to come to work on day one upon graduating and fill roles that actually exist in our plant. The high schools, we partner with, I believe, 12 high schools in the surrounding counties, in order to get out there, the kinds of things we do there, in addition to a dual enrollment impact program, is we work with the centers, career tech centers at those schools. We do mock interviews, we go out. It's very important that the students, in middle school as well, we do that as well, can see themselves working in our field. They, as described earlier on the card, modern manufacturing is a lot different than what many people believe when they think of a steel company, in our case, from 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so when they can envision themselves working there, they see the high-paying jobs that are very rewarding, and they see that it's a clean and safe environment, then they're much more likely to engage with these programs and have that exposure and then get those skills. We also partner with groups even outside of schools. We participate in GLAM, that's Girls Learning About Manufacturing, and we work with, SIGIA, we did work with SADC and all sorts of other groups to ensure that we're reaching the community where the team members live and can potentially come work for us.
Thank you. Mr. Cox, you mentioned in your testimony the partnership that ACCS has with Alabama Technology Network. What kind of specialized training do they offer to students, and is it something that other states can implement?
Alabama Technology Network is really unique. It's a real flexible program, and it's not tied to credits or semesters and those type of things. So yes, I think it's a great model. It started out as pretty much a manufacturing training program, and now we're starting to see they are so good at doing training in Alabama. So if someone needs just a quick training to be able to learn how to run a machine in a manufacturing facility, ATN can send in their team, and they can supply that work anywhere in Alabama. And we have offices all over the state so that we can supply that training. So, Senator, I believe it's a great. I think it's one of those things that in our it's like a Swiss Army knife. All of the things that we have, I think, is great for economic development because we can train as easy as you need PLC training and you need to get somebody to be able to run a PLC, or if that actual PLC training is changing because of technology, we can go in there and train students. We call them students, but employees, a lot of times they're already employed and they're upskilling. So it gives them an opportunity to do better, Senator Tuberville.
Zach, do you think that includes AI?
Well, I will mention AI. I think, hearing the others speak of AI, one thing that we believe we're going to have to, or we are doing with AI is training our instructors. We have over 10,000 instructors in the state of Alabama. And if they don't use it, if they don't understand it, then I think that's the most important training. So we're doing all we can to partner in AI so that our instructors, 10,000 strong across Alabama, we're using our LMS, which is our learning management system. There are AI components in there, so we have to train for that. That's for our students and for our instructors. But if our instructors don't understand it, then it's probably not going to be possible that our students get it. So, and sometimes the students may be ahead of our instructors. And what we have found, it's also across all areas. It's our career tech instructors as well as our physics, math, and science instructors need training on AI. So we're doing a lot of digging to try to get our folks caught up. And I'll tell you, when you talk about STEM, sorry you didn't ask this, but just somewhat in response with STEM and cybersecurity, I think is something, Huntsville being right there for us is huge, that we're able to train our students to be good in cyber. So embedding things like AI, cybersecurity, and those things in our computer information science courses, which is career technical education, we have done that statewide. And I think us being one system with one board, one chancellor, it has made us be able to be very agile and be able to take the courses that we have statewide and make sure every student is getting consistent training in the STEM world and all of the education they're getting through our community colleges.
Thank you. Senator Murray.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm really glad that we're having this important conversation, but I want to take this opportunity to say how outraged I am by how callously the Trump administration has mishandled our education programs as it is taking a wrecking ball to the Department of Education. Earlier this year, Secretary McMahon cast off much of her department's responsibility for career and technical education and adult education programs to the Labor Department, with basically no notice, no planning, which has resulted in funding delays and other problems. And unfortunately, that was just a preview of what was to come. 3 weeks ago, President Trump and Secretary McMahon announced that they were moving almost all of the K-12 education programs and many of the higher education programs to DOL. And they're moving others to HHS, Interior, State, and they've promised to keep moving more programs, including special education, to other agencies, all without consulting Congress. That should be unacceptable to every single one of us. Congress has repeatedly and clearly authorized those programs at the Department of Education and provided funding to the Department of Education to carry them out. Moving programs to agencies without the experience nor the capacity to administer them is really a disservice to our students and to our schools. The Department of Labor is not used to administering the number of programs administered by the Department of Education. We saw chaos earlier this year when the CTE and adult education programs were moved from the Department of Education to DOL. How much worse is it going to be when DOL is saddled with thousands of education grants like TRIO, when they have never administered anything near that scale? How are they going to administer impact aid programs with zero experience in doing that? Why is the Department of Labor administering programs for preschoolers and elementary school students at all? The Trump administration has not answered those questions or even consulted Congress. The Secretary of Labor has never testified to how she would administer any of these new programs, and she even failed to explain how she is meeting her existing responsibilities. This is not saving money, it's not reducing bureaucracy, but it is increasing chaos. DOL is already charging Secretary McMahon over $1 million additional dollars to now do the CTE work her employees were doing. Taking over significantly larger and complex programs will surely cost significantly more. But of course, the administration has not told us how much it's going to be. And now we have two separate departments co-managing all of these programs. How is that going to reduce bureaucracy? States, school districts, families are going to have to deal with multiple agencies now when they used to deal with one. So I want to make clear I'm always ready for a conversation about how we improve these federal programs, but that could not be further from what is happening with this administration. And again, they're not bothering to talk to Congress about it and how they can pursue this legally by passing a law to do it. They're just doing it, which tells you pretty much how serious they are about doing anything. So I appreciate this hearing, but I needed this opportunity to express my dismay at what is happening in this administration to our schools, our students, and really the future of our country with all of this mismanaging going on. But Mr. Ryan, let me ask you, and I wanted to ask you, given your experience, can Education and Department of Labor collaborate on these programs without an interagency agreement? Can they even do that? And have they collaborated on CTE before now?
So there's a long history of collaboration between the Department of Education and the Department of Labor. And what that history tells us is that it does not require major structural realignment. Where states have partnered, where federal agencies have partnered is essentially through a number of instances. So the implementation of WIOA. Titles 1 and 3 exist at the U.S. Department of Labor. Titles 2 and 4, which are inherently education programs, exist at the Department of Education, or used to exist at the Department of Education. There was an interagency working group that worked directly with states and across federal agencies to manage the implementation of WIOA and ensure that our nation's adult education and workforce system was responsive to states. There are also examples where the Department of Education and Labor have partnered to offer and support things like career and technical education. When I worked federally, we offered a number of we jointly issued a number of guidance documents to states that helped them think about the integration of CTE, the expansion of post-secondary CTE to include registered apprenticeship, as well as short-term credential programs, how states could modify their post-secondary funding formula, which states are given the authority to do under the Act, to include, at the time, programs that were not Pell eligible. So there are many instances where the Department of Education and Labor have cooperatively worked together. But in past instances, they've essentially centered states' needs as part of their joint collaboration. And I think that's one thing that we're missing right now, is really working hand in glove with states to make sure that they have the information that they need to lead effectively.
Well, thank you. I'm over my time, but Mr. Chairman, I really think Congress needs to look at what is happening here, what's happening to our programs, what's happening to families' access, whether there's any collaboration, how they're putting this together. And clearly, again, it's up to Congress to pass the law. The administration cannot do this without Congress having their input.
Thanks, Senator Murray. Mr. Statlander, you've been involved with HR for manufacturers for a good portion of your career. How have training and workforce needs evolved in the space over your time?
Thank you. It has evolved significantly over that time as modern technology has emerged. Today, I work in an advanced steel finishing facility that uses high-tech equipment and requires good knowledge of instrumentation, automation, basic electrical, requires a good bit of math. Those are things that didn't necessarily exist in the kinds of manufacturing, at least I participated in 20 and 30 years ago. So as it's evolved over that time, it's been extremely critical to continue to enhance the skill sets of all of the people that are graduating, enabling them to either, go into industrial jobs or to go into programs such as two-year colleges in order to meet the demands of the workforce needs.
What is the youngest age that you've heard of for apprenticeships that you would use in your line of work?
18 would be what we do for our apprenticeships, where they actually work our positions, mentored in the field. We do high school dual enrollments where they're not performing actual, work on the machines.
Right. Mm-hmm. Ms. Travis, you've been a helpful resource to lawmakers who are considering changes to state and federal legislation when it comes to workforce. Can you talk about the current WIOA system and what we can do as lawmakers to possibly improve it?
Thank you very much, Senator Tuberville, Chairman. Really do appreciate that question. I think one of the most important things that we can do to improve our workforce system in general is to enhance our systems so that education and workforce are complementing each other, so they are not competing both for dollars and for time, that we are truly creating a seamless pipeline for our system and for workforce development. Right now, as I mentioned in my testimony earlier, only 0.1% of GDP in this country goes to technical education and these programs that we offer. And I think that looking at these and making sure that we're spending our dollars so that we are creating a pipeline that truly does sustain the workforce that America actually needs and depends on. We invest less than almost any other industrialized nation in technical education and training our future workforce. So I think if we're focusing on WOA and also on work-based learning opportunities so that when students and when our adults actually get into the workforce, they are actually already know what the industry is that they are entering into, and they have those opportunities early on. So really creating that pipeline that we all need. And really one additional piece to that is making sure that we are reauthorizing the National Apprenticeship Act. I think that is another very important. As I mentioned in my comments earlier, I think the four main things that I would recommend is one, that we strengthen career and technical education and make a larger investment there. That we look at youth work-based learning programs and look at those as well. And the second and third things are actually investing in our CTE instructors, because without those instructors, we do not have a skilled workforce, and making sure that we also reauthorize the National Apprenticeship Act. Those are the things that I would recommend that we concentrate on right now.
Thank you. Mr. Cox, lastly, you talked about ACCS's Innovation Center and how it developed the skills and success. Can you talk about the program for a minute and its industrial-driven design?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator. It's a unique program. We actually started this program because small business came to us and said, we need help for training. And I mentioned earlier in the testimony that we started with hospitality, but I'll share a few of the other training programs that we have built. I think we're up to around 50 courses that can be taken in this program that's usually around 2 weeks. Small businesses, such as grocers. The Grocers Association came to us, and we have Piggly Wigglies in the state of Alabama that these local owners have problems finding someone who can become and cut meat. So butcher training, they were struggling. So what we were able to do is create a program. We brought in subject matter experts, and we built a training course where once a year in a rural community, we can go in and local grocery stores in their area can send young people or even adults that are working in their grocery store and showing up and have some promise. Send them to this training and let them go back and go to work maybe with a butcher somewhere else. So we do anywhere from fiber optics training that we built at the request of industry, nurse. We're in the healthcare field where we're doing nursing assistant program, which that is actually going to be a national model. So the Skills for Success is a hybrid model where students, for example, will learn the course. It's kind of like a YouTube course, and they learn online for the first part in their theory, and then they have to show up for a lab. So if you're a butcher training, safety and all of those things, they can watch the videos online, and then when they show up, they're prepared to actually do a lab and actually show that they can master the skill. It's practice. A lot of work with the Road Builders Association. We're training folks on the road builders equipment, also with agriculture and even small equipment like excavators and things like that, where industry is just really needing people to be trained, because what we're finding out is this equipment is not easy. There's technology there, and someone has to train them to do it. And our team has stepped up to the plate through Skills for Success to help small business and industry in the state of Alabama, which we sometimes forget about is a large part of industry in Alabama, is small business. So we're trying to take care of them, Senator.
We just got a few minutes here to wrap this up. I want to give each one of you 1 minute to say one of the most important things that we have to do for workforce development for the next few years. Mr. Ryan?
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Post-secondary work-based learning. Perkins is almost agnostic about how post-secondary work-based learning exists. I think it is a thing that could revolutionize our higher education system in the country, and I agree with your comments that it should start with our community and technical colleges.
Thank you. Mr. Stadlander?
Thank you. We must increase the labor participation rate. People often have the desire, but they lack the exposure to modern manufacturing and the accesses that can make them successful. If we can increase the labor participation rate, we can make America more competitive and provide good, high-paying jobs to all of those who join.
I used to tell my football players sometimes they didn't want to do something, but if you have the will, there's a way, you know, and same thing in workforce. Ms. Travis?
Absolutely. Strengthen the federal investment in career and technical education in programs that we know that work. Career and technical education, when coupled with career and technical student organizations, is learning that works for America's future workforce. So strengthen the federal investment in career and technical education and career and technical student organizations. Expand the infrastructure in youth work-based learning. Just like my colleague mentioned, post-secondary is so important, but also having those opportunities early on makes a difference in their future careers and the success of our workforce. And actually growing the pipeline of skilled CTE instructors, because without our CTE instructors, there is no skilled workforce. So we have to make sure that we're making investments in methods and processes that we know that work. And also reauthorization of the National Apprenticeship Act and ensuring that as we are looking at these reauthorizations and strengthening our federal investments, that we're continuing to make investments in public career and technical education where that training happens.
Thank you. Dr. Cox?
Senator, I think there's three things that come to mind. I mentioned earlier, us being agile and us being able to adjust to what industry needs are. Second is access, and I'm going to mention access. One of the things that we're focusing on in our state budget or legislative year, calendar year this year is we've got to pay our instructors. They're behind because if you're a nurse, you can work in the hospital and make more than our nursing instructors in our community colleges. Even if you go to Enterprise, Alabama, and you're going to the aviation school, when you graduate after 3 semesters with a long certificate, you can get a job making more than the instructor that just taught them. So we're having to adjust. That's not a federal thing, that's a state thing that we're working on, but I think that goes back to access. We got to have the instructors so we can give the students all over Alabama the access they need. So that's a focus of ours, and I think is important. And then I think letting everyone in Alabama, and I think this goes back, we talked some about the people that are not in the workforce. We have to let them know that we have a place for them. And I think we're doing a better job of that in Alabama than we ever have. And I think we're starting to see people understand that they can walk through our doors without an education, without a high school diploma, and know that a local community college can help them find something that will make their life better.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today. And
Stall for Senator Baldwin if you want.
What?
Senator Baldwin is almost here.
I can't hear you. Be here today and giving us good insight on real examples of what we need to do. The discussions we had today surrounding career and technical education, industry and business partnerships, and apprenticeships lets us know that there is a positive work being done to address the skills and gap in this country, and it's a huge problem. It is on us now as lawmakers to deliver on these solutions, reauthorizing WIOA with meaningful improvement, strengthening the investment of career and technical education, funding through Perkins, and funding our states is something we can do right now. Having the perspective of an employer, a community college leader, a CTSO, and a nonprofit showed all of us today the way we can work together to give us opportunity available to our students and our constituents in the labor market. States across our country are using strategies that work for them, and it is time we all catch up to build our country's reindustrialization and grow our economy through American workers. Today, for any senator wishing to ask additional questions for the record will be due by 5 p.m. today, Tuesday, December 23rd. Once again, I want to thank all of you for being here today. And come on in. We hadn't adjourned yet. Come on in.
You hadn't?
No.
I
No.
noticed.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah. All right, Senator, you're up. But we'll wait on you. Take your time.
I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for coming.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for holding the hearing open today and for holding it at all. I am actually not a member of this subcommittee, but a member of the full committee, so I especially appreciate the courtesy of being allowed to ask some questions. Look, Wisconsin has a wonderful technical college system. It provides valuable education and training to countless students and receives Perkins funding every year to support their efforts. I am really glad that we're having this hearing, but I also need to spend a minute on this administration's continued effort to dismantle the Department of Education, really at whatever cost. It started with the secret move of career and technical education at the Department of Labor, that move. But now the administration is moving the vast majority of K through 12 and higher education programs to the Department of Labor. These programs dwarf the programs that the Department of Labor currently administers in both size and in scope. At least with the Career and Technical Education, CTE, there is some kind of natural connection to the work of the Department of Labor, although we have seen a lot of implementation problems since its move there. But the Department of Labor has no experience administering the vast majority of these other programs now being transferred to it. We're talking about programs for early elementary schools and teaching young students how to read. We already know from the CTE interagency agreement between education and labor that states saw delays in funding and the absence of important guidance. We also know our states now have to deal with two agencies instead of one, two payment systems instead of one. We also know that this is costing taxpayers over $1 million extra for labor to do education's work, just for CTE. Transferring significantly larger and more complex programs will only create more problems for states, school districts, and schools. None of this is reducing bureaucracy. It's creating more of it. I worry this will cause problems for impact aid schools and TRIO grantees, just to name a few. So I have many concerns and questions about how this would work, and this administration seems to have no interest in explaining it. Moving these programs isn't in the administration's budget request, and the Secretary of Labor has not testified to how she would carry out these programs that are being transferred. Immediately after these latest agreements were announced, I reached out to Secretary Chavez de Remer. I've followed up since and cannot get a call back. This administration has no interest in justifying or explaining what it is they're doing because they don't have good answers to any of these questions. And Secretary McMahon is not stopping with these programs. She said just last week that she will be transferring more programs to other agencies, and we know only a few major responsibilities are left, including special education programs like IDEA. We know that their goal is to eliminate the Department of Education altogether, so we can only assume that they will be moving those few remaining programs too. I hope my colleagues will join me in voicing their concerns to Secretary McMahon and joining me to press pause on these abrupt changes as soon as possible. We've passed law after law authorizing and funding these programs at the Department of Education. All we want is the administration to follow the law. Now, onto a question. This week, the Department of Education is engaged in negotiated rulemaking for the implementation of Workforce Pell. I have been a supporter of expanding the use of Pell Grants to high-quality, short-term job training programs for a long time. A traditional four-year baccalaureate degree is not always the best path for every student, nor is it the only way for students to get good, high-paying, family-supporting jobs. Well-administered short-term job training programs can lead to these high-quality, high-paying jobs for American workers. However, I have deep concerns with both the process and policy of the department's rulemaking. It appears that the Department of Education is attempting to conduct the negotiated rulemaking for this policy in just 5 days. I'm concerned that this rushed timeline will lead to implementation that lacks the necessary guardrails and accountability to protect students. And without those in place, we could easily see a rise in low-quality, predatory programs that do not properly train students or give them the skills necessary to obtain a good-paying job. Mr. Ryan, in your opinion, what guardrails should be put in place to ensure taxpayer dollars are not going to exploitative programs that do not prepare students for high-quality success?
So I think there's both guardrails and accountability, Senator. So first, in terms of guardrails, we need to ensure that states have the information that they need to build programs that align with good jobs. Essentially, we need clear standards for quality so that we can prevent students from engaging in programs and both wasting their time and money that do not lead to economic opportunity. I think guardrails would also help states to implement Workforce Pell along its education and workforce continuum. Specifically, Workforce Pell will work best when it integrates with existing programs like career and technical education, WIOA-funded programs, as well as registered apprenticeship and 2- and 4-year degree pathways. We need to ensure that there are clear definitions and ways in which states can engage holistically as they integrate Workforce Pell within these existing systems. We also need to ensure that there's clear accountability for 2 reasons. The first is it's critically important that taxpayer dollars fund programs that have outcomes for young people and adult learners. Second, we need to ensure that employers have confidence in the credentialing system. Clear accountability would help ensure that businesses hire with confidence and invest more heavily in our post-secondary education system.
Thank you, Senator. Again, thanks for everybody being here. And this been a very productive meeting. We need to have more of these, and we need to continue this conversation. As we all said earlier, we got problems, and we can't build anything if we don't start teaching our young people to use their hands, even though they might not get into that field. You know, I'm all for starting more workforce development in the high school level, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, where they can possibly enjoy it, get involved in it, and as we all know, if you start doing something like it, you might continue on with that. So we've got a lot of opportunities in this country, and but we also got a lot of kids that can't make up their minds. I dealt with them for a long time, and it's very, very hard to get them on the right path. But we'll all work together. We'll get this done. Again, thanks for being here, all you witnesses, and this subcommittee hearing is now adjourned.